Howdy everybody, Harmony Moon here, and welcome to the Stanley Parable. It's a quirky game about Stanley and his parable. I don't really remember what the word parable means, but I like what it's doing here, where the Inception-esque. What's it called? I'm bumping on my words and I just bumped the table. Whoops. Not bump the table. But anyways, why don't we just dive in? Begin the game. The end is never, the end is loading. Never. End is never, the end is never, the end is loading. Nah. Well, what it needs to do is load faster. Oh, boy. If this takes any longer, yeah, we're just gonna jump. I'll join you guys when it's finished loading.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-reading, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Okay, so this is the Stanley Parable. This is the Stanley Parable. That narration you just heard is, well, the intro. Let's see if I can. Well, it seems to be almost 6 o'clock. Just about. Let's go out into the world.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
What's this? Whoa. What's that? Well, I don't know what that is. Oh, I clicked it. Something happened. This is... Alright. Well, I guess we'll just keep going. That one's on. Right. Oh, I clicked that one too. Alright, we'll just, ooh, okay, this one's on too. Username access. Boop. Yeah, you don't need to be on right now. Is that the meeting room? No, but that's that. Okay, let's just keep going. This is very strange. Whoa.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
The door on his left. Okay. Let's go that way. I want to click that one. Oh, if I click, it actually makes a clicking noise. I'm sorry, that's probably annoying.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Rip Franz. Oh, 4 Franz. Meeting room. Floor 4. I'm gonna guess that's 400 or something. Weekly targets admin. Okay, we're not gonna read all these. Just not cost effective. What is it? Standardize graphs. Oh, 40x wide. Oh god. Everyone is unique. You most of all. Oh, that's encouraging. Number of slides on the slide. Charts, charts and slides, slides. Nice. Ooh. Top priority. Room closet. Oh my god! Just knocked me back. Let's go in here.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Well, I guess we are not supposed to be in there. Sorry, sir.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Boss's office. Wait, you see how... I think he... I wasn't even listening. Let's go down here. Ooh, this is creepy. Let's look at these boxes. Interesting. Okay. Red light. Let's click on it. Click on it a bunch. Oh, I can't jump. So dumb. Oh, hey! I got an achievement. Can't jump.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
Oh, God.
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming!
Oh, hey.
He yelled.
This is getting really bad.
This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life.
Why did I go this way?
Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job, All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
So peaceful. Waking up. Nope. Keep going.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
What? Why did I go the existential route?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Okay, more narration.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Well, that was interesting. A little more than we needed for the first episode of this and going through this for the first time. Well, let's see if we can do better this time, I guess, because we're just gonna be starting over again, I guess.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement?
What?
Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition.
Ignoring it. Just go to the next room.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, let's be sure to listen to it this time because I forgot and I must have said upstairs. I really hope he said upstairs.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Cool.
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Those windows are really bright. Yeah, this looks better.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Ominous elevator or dark corner? That answers that question. Okay, well, ominous elevator it is. Down we go. Oh, dear God. Oh, God. This game is a lot more, Oh, we're loading again. Loading. Slowly loading. Guess I'll have to cut it here for when the loading comes back in. Oh, wait. Nope, never mind. It's loading. Where is it? Whatever, after I finish this game, because apparently there's multiple endings. Yeah.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Okay, well, anyways, after we finish this game...
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
That one says escape. No, we'll just listen to the narrator. He probably is right. Well, that's a button.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Let's go check it out. Let's see if we have the strength to go check it out. Alright. What next? Oh, button!
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Let's press this button.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true.
Here it comes.
Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was
my
happy
pistol.
with his boring job? That his emotions
it's
had
mine.
been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Sorry. Keep this going.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Dismantle there, Mr. Krabs is in there. Wait, what does that say down there? Oh, I can't read it. Can I read it now? Nope, can't scooch. They're there. System power. Let's turn it off. Yeah, I did it. Did I win? Hello? Oh. Okay, I can move.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Aww. Well, I guess because that achievement just popped up, I beat the game. So, I think that's a great place to wrap it up for now. I might return to this, I might not, who knows. From the looks of the multiple ending thing, or at least there's a split ending that I accidentally went to, I'm gonna assume there are different ones. So, yeah. So in that, I am going to go ahead, cut that here. So, don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe to become a star in the night sky. I will see you guys later.